Who's uncomfortable? Who's a little more uncomfortable now? How about now? Wii U Games on Nintendo 3DS. This was a very interesting trend during the latter half of the Wii U's life, and it felt very much like Nintendo was genuinely scrambling. Oh my god, how did NES Remix 2 on Wii U not do as well as we wanted it to? Yeah, obviously, a lot of the games Nintendo put on their home console, because of how poorly the Wii U did, they wanted as many people as possible to be able to experience a lot of these games. So it only made sense, in most cases, to take a lot of those experiences that would work on 3DS and make them work on 3DS. But just because they would work on 3DS, oh man, doesn't mean they should. But regardless, Nintendo put a bunch of their Wii U exclusives out on this severely underpowered handheld, and they were pretty impressive. They weren't really great, but they were at least a little impressive nonetheless. Like Hyrule Warriors Legends on the 3DS. This one was always very weird because never in a million years did I think when Hyrule Warriors came out for Wii U, like, man, a 3DS version would just hit the spot. Of course, with this being a Warriors game, a couple of those were already on 3DS at this point, so I think they kind of thought like, hey, I mean, like, we can get this to work. But if you've ever played Hyrule Warriors Legends, you know, that don't mean diddly dick. Yes, it works, but like, this is not an enjoyable experience whatsoever. I'd say even on like a new 3DS system, which is what this should have been. This should have been a new 3DS exclusive, because on a regular 3DS, it is abhorrent. Yes, it still works, but like it's just not enjoyable. Even on a new 3DS, I just don't really want to play Warriors games on this system. It's still very impressive. I mean, this is a console game through and through on the handheld. Very cool that they were able to put it on here. But this was a pretty like early 3DS port, all things considered. This was announced in June of 2015 and finally released in like springtime of 2016. Like, this kind of started the trend of like, hey, we are jumping ship from that console. Let's go over to the 3DS. And Hyrule Warriors Legends, it was good for a couple more reasons. I mean, like, they included a bunch of new characters, and it says new characters join the battle, bring characters from this game into the Wii U version. So pretty much, Hyrule Warriors Legends was an excuse to do a lot more DLC for the original game on Wii U. But even in addition to that, Hyrule Warriors Legends includes a bunch of tweaks, a bunch of new things. For example, you can swap characters on the fly in this game. You couldn't do that in the Wii U version. And on Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition on Nintendo Switch, they retain that feature. So in some regards, that version is an HD remake of Hyrule Warriors Legends. But the characters this version introduced were a lot of the weirder ones. So you have characters from Wind Waker. You have Linkle, which was the female Link that was in the concept art for the original game. They actually made that a full-blown character for Hyrule Warriors Legends, which is pretty cool. This is a commendable project. By God, don't play it though. Like I said, this kind of experience just does not work for me on a 3DS. What does, though? Ultimate NES Remix. So, this isn't a direct port of NES Remix 1 or NES Remix 2. It's more so kind of like a best of, combining both of those games, which in many ways, I think makes this the definitive way to play the NES Remix games. Really, because this version cuts a lot of the fat. It's pretty much like you just have a lot of the big, heavy-hitting titles represented here. So NES Remix 1 on Wii U took a bunch of old school black box NES games, so the ones that like nobody gave a shit about anymore, plus Super Mario Brothers, Zelda, Donkey Kong, a couple of the ones you may care about, but for the most part, they were all ass. And they made little bite-sized challenges out of them, and then you'd go to the remix stages, which would do a bunch of wacky effects to them, which often amounted to not so wacky effects. They were damn Photoshop filters. But still, it was a really fun pick-up-and-play game, but because it was a pick-up-and-play game, a lot of people wondered, like, hey, why isn't NES Remix on the 3DS? And originally, the developers answered that with, well, like, it wouldn't run on the 3DS. Like, we did so many wacky effects via the remix stages that, you know, we were taking advantage of the Wii U there. We just couldn't imagine this happened a year later. Ultimate NES Remix cherry picks from both NES Remix 1 and 2 in terms of the games represented and mashes them together, which is different from how things worked on the Wii U with NES Remix Pack. So this is what we got on Wii U. This released day and date with Ultimate NES Remix back in December of 2014. This is just a physical compilation of NES Remix 1 and 2. They aren't combined in any way. You just boot it up and you get a menu where it says, do you want to play NES Remix 1 or NES Remix 2? That's all this is. So I was really disappointed that NES Remix Pack was pretty much just, well, exactly what it said. It's just a pack of NES Remix 1 and 2. Whereas Ultimate NES Remix, they actually went in and they combined both games. Not everything though, but they include a bunch of new things in here. So you can unlock Famicom Remix to play the Japanese versions of the games. So that is completely new to this version. Speed Mario Brothers is a sped up version of Super Mario Brothers. That wasn't included in the Wii U version. What the Wii U version had was Super Luigi Brothers, which was Super Mario Brothers, but flipped, like mirrored, and you were playing as Luigi with his physics. You can argue which is better, I don't really care. Either way, this version pretty much has most of what you'd actually want to play in a handheld form, which, yeah, that was definitely very cool about this. It was just really nice to be able to play this game portably because it felt like a portable game. Home console-wise, like, yeah, it's nice to have these types of games on home consoles, but certain games just feel perfect for a handheld. And NES Remix was that. And you know what else is? Fuck, I take it back. Super Mario Maker for Nintendo 3DS. What I have here is the digital copy that came preloaded on this Black Friday 2DS I got. This logo here is like having a phrase on the butt of your jeans. Super Mario Maker was a very late killer app for the Wii U. This was finally the game that really made you realize, like, wow, this is what the Wii U can do, and it came like a year before they announced the Nintendo Switch. Damn it! It sold really well on Wii U, but I think Nintendo realized, like, well, damn, we gotta take advantage of the popularity of this game. So, just over a year later, we got Super Mario Maker for Nintendo 3DS. I think they started production of this 6 months before it released. This is one of the coolest damn stupid-ass things, like, Nintendo's ever done. Mainly because just like, all right, let's talk about this. Let's go into the styles here. Let's do New Super Mario Bros. U. And, yeah. This is just flat out New Super Mario Bros. On Wii U on the 3DS. I don't know why that makes me as happy as it does. And it's really weird because obviously you have something like New Super Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS. You have, like good quality 2D Mario models made for the 3DS. But no, they scrunched the hell down the Wii U assets onto the 3DS. Obviously, because that's what Mario Maker was designed with in mind. But honestly, Mario Maker works incredibly well on the 3DS. It works just as you'd expect it to, and with the bottom touchscreen being able to just hit play and then go directly into the game. I'd honestly say this is a better level-making experience than Super Mario Maker 2 is on the Nintendo Switch. Plus, this game has brand new courses designed by Nintendo themselves to create a much more fleshed-out single-player campaign than what the Wii U version had. I mean, like, it's still, like, you know, single-player campaign and quotes here. I mean, you're still playing just Nintendo-designed levels, both in the Wii U version and the 3DS version. But, you know, it should be noted, like, there is legitimate new content to experience in Super Mario Maker for 3DS. But then you go into Course World, the main selling point of Mario Maker being to play other people's levels. And you can do that on the 3DS. That's all you can do. You cannot share any of your levels made on the 3DS online. You can't do it. You can share it locally. I don't know why you do that. So yeah, you can still play levels online, but they're only levels made on the Wii U version. Which, okay, that's one thing, but you can't even search for a specific course here. When you go to Course World, you can only play 100 Mario Challenge, which will give you a random assortment of stages to play through, or just go into the recommended courses and just happen to find a decent one there. And it's not like the 3DS couldn't do any of this. Maybe it has to do with the fact that this is a pretty rushed port overall. Like, I feel like if this port had like an extra year in the oven, then a lot of these issues could have been ironed out. There's always like a letterbox on screen, so like the game doesn't actually fill the entire thing. The whole thing has like this sluggishness to it. Just when you hit, you know, like when you make a stage and then you hit play, you know, it kind of has to like, all right, now we can play. And maybe it's because the way the Wii U's infrastructure was built when it comes to how the online levels work, maybe it just, they can't handle the 3DS versions uploading stages themselves. They could only really handle like, oh, like it could play random stages from the Wii U version, but that's it. I just feel like maybe they wanted to have the Wii U version still be the definitive version, have the Wii U version still be like the killer app for Wii U, so then you have a reason to want a Wii U. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know why Nintendo would care about that being a thing in late 2016, 3 months before the Nintendo Switch released. But in addition, they removed other features like the amiibo costumes, the mystery mushroom costumes. Like, the stages that include that, you cannot play at all on the 3DS version. So if you find a stage online, it ain't gonna include the mystery mushroom costume, and you can't use the mystery mushroom, which makes no sense. The 3DS at this point, pretty much most games Nintendo was releasing supported amiibo in some way. And even then, the mystery mushroom costumes didn't even require amiibo. You could unlock them by playing 100 Mario Challenge. And like, there's no way the 3DS couldn't run those because like they were sprites. They were 8-bit sprites only available in the Mario 1 art style. So I think a lot of these decisions were just made because they didn't want the 3DS version to be the definitive version. I don't know. Or the fact they didn't want to put the time and effort into doing this. This was a rushed port job. They just wanted it out like for the holiday season of 2016, and they knew the Nintendo Switch was coming either way, so they said, who cares? Just remove a couple of these features, make this for kids, because that's what this feels like. This feels like Super Mario Maker, but for little babies. Now I shall talk about a real man's game. Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World. My God, now talk about a complete 180 from Super Mario Maker for 3DS. This is one of the most impressive Wii U to 3DS conversions I've ever seen. I remember when this was first revealed via the same direct as Super Mario Maker for 3DS Direct from September of 2016. I remember seeing like the video of this game and just thinking like, wow, this doesn't look that much worse. I mean, that's just flat out Yoshi's Woolly World. I mean, you took one of the most beautiful Wii U games and you put it on the 3DS and it doesn't look like significantly worse. That impressed the hell out of me. And yeah, this version is great. It is one of those de facto definitive versions just based on the fact that it has more content overall. I mean, it's Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World. There's Poochie stages. Do you give a shit about the Poochie stages? No. But they're there. It's pretty much Nintendo's excuse to just make it seem like, oh, wow, this is like a brand new game. When it's like these stages are like a minute long and they add nothing to the experience. They're just little mini games. They're just little whatever extra additives. I love how you can always tell like when Nintendo does a release like this, like the way they advertise it, the way they talk about it on the back of the box obviously makes it so then if you just pick this game up and you knew nothing about it, you would just assume like, oh, this is a brand new game, who cares? Unravel, throw, and stitch to explore this adventure with Yoshi and Poochie. Like, yeah, I mean, like, that sentence would make sense if this was an old-ass game or a new-ass game to you. And they say, make it mad dash for beads in these all-new Poochie stages. Like, yeah, if you didn't know about the Wii U version, you'd be like, well, the entire game is all new, so who cares? It's like looking at the back of the Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe box. Kirby is back in a beloved adventure gone deluxe. I mean, like, yeah, okay, whatever. If you actually had some comprehension skills, I'm pretty sure you could tell, oh, this is an old game, brand new. But as a kid, I wouldn't think anything of this. An interesting change in this version is how the world map is completely 2D now. Yoshi's Woolly World on the Wii U had this 3D world map where you have this overhead area and you just walk around. You have full 360-degree movement, and you go to your stages that way. And that was really cool, but the 2D map on here does kind of feel like, oh man, you know, that's really cool, but this makes more sense because the entire game is in 2D. I believe there's more amiibo costumes now, which this alongside Mario Maker was some of the best goddamn amiibo support ever. It's like you got brand new knitted woolly Yoshi designs based on certain characters. So, oh, I scan a Samus amiibo and you get Samus Yoshi. That's just fun. But the coolest thing about the amiibo support to me was the fact that they did it for third-party characters as well. There was like Pac-Man, Sonic, Mega Man, and this one did at least kind of continue that because we got Ryu as an amiibo costume in this game, which was cool. There wasn't like Cloud or Bayonetta, but speaking of amiibo, those sons of bitches did it. Yeah, you can pick up a bundle with a Yarn Poochie amiibo. This, when you just scan it in, just puts Poochie in the level and you can ride him. That's pretty much it. The Yarn Yoshi amiibo were always like really cool for everything but what they actually did in the games. Yeah, this is just a good port of Yoshi's Woolly World. Yeah, technically you could consider it to be the definitive version. I don't really care. What I the hell care about is the fact that this is a damn good version of the game. Something you'd expect to be like way worse than it is, but it runs well, it looks good, all of that. Something I would have expected out of Super Mario Maker for 3DS because, like, yeah, most of that game is just old-ass 2D Mario sprites. There's no reason why it should have been, you know, a sucky-ass game. It was a sucky-ass game. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Now, this released on the 3DS pretty late into the game, 2018, right alongside a Nintendo Switch version. The 3DS port seemed kind of like Nintendo was pushing it under the rug. Like, it didn't really matter. It was kind of like, oh, and also, it's coming out for 3DS. But the 3DS port was probably more interesting, all things considered. This definitely felt like the most at home on the system. Maybe not control-wise, because it's definitely a little weird on the system, considering how they had to double the top screen and the bottom screen, so it's the same thing, and then you have to use your stylus to touch things on the touch screen while also moving with the circle pad. It can definitely be a little cramped sometimes, but overall, like when you think about the origins of this game, you know, it goes back to Super Mario 3D World, which was based off of Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS, which included a lot of like very stereoscopic 3D heavy puzzles. You know, levels that feel like they were designed specifically for 3D, and many of them kind of had this like a diorama feel, like you were moving around a little box with a level in it. And that's what a lot of Captain Toad stages felt like. So back when the Captain Toad stages came out, I always kind of thought like, man, this would work pretty well on the 3DS. And lo and behold, 2018 hit, and they put out Captain Toad on the 3DS with a 3D mode included, which was rare around this time for 3DS games. Most of them they didn't give a damn anymore. No more 3D, but not for Captain Toad. This is Captain Toad on the 3DS. It is pretty damn impressive. One of the best looking 3DS games, honestly. And it includes stages based off of Mario Odyssey, which is weird on the 3DS. It's pretty much the same deal as the Nintendo Switch version, although that version got a bunch of content updates. We got like paid DLC, a free update that enabled VR support with Nintendo Labo, co-op support, all of that. But that happened later down the line. The 3DS version never got that. But what it did have was that feeling of like, wow, this makes sense. The Switch version didn't really feel like that. It felt very cobbled together on Switch. Overall now, it's probably the definitive version with the DLC and all that stuff. But at the time, I would have said like, damn, the 3DS version is very impressive. The Switch version is a way to play Captain Toad on anything but a Wii U or 3DS. I'd like to take a moment to talk about these compilation-esque releases. These games aren't really the Wii U games on 3DS at all, but they at least have like some elements to them that fit the description. WarioWare Gold is honestly one of the best late 3DS releases. It's pretty much like the ultimate WarioWare game. The only thing that kind of stops it from being like the best of the best is potentially that it's mostly older content. That older content is remixed and remastered in certain ways alongside like brand new cutscenes and modes and all of this stuff. It doesn't even matter. This is probably my favorite WarioWare game overall. I'd say if there was a WarioWare game I had to spend the rest of my life with, it might be this one. I think it's between this and Smooth Moves. But because this is pretty much a celebration of the series' history, it does bring back some elements of Game & Wario on Wii U. Yikes! Listen, Game & Wario, I have a very interesting relationship with because me and my friends adore Sketch in Game & Wario. It's just Pictionary. But because of that, Game & Wario is still kind of a go-to party game for us, where it's kind of like, you know, if we just want to have a fun time, Sketch and Game & Wario is a surefire bet. That's always a fun time. But I can't really give Game & Wario a ton of credit for that because it's literally just Pictionary. But that's probably not even what most people would consider to be the best mode in Game & Wario. What probably is Gamer, where you're playing as 9-Volt, playing on his little handheld after bedtime, and you have to play WarioWare microgames on the gamepad while you gotta look up at the TV screen to make sure mom doesn't catch you. Probably one of the best uses of the Wii U's 2 screens, and it's back in WarioWare Gold. Of course, it may be a little simpler because instead of going from your lap to a TV screen, you know, that's a country mile you're traveling there. Now you're going from the bottom screen of the 3DS where you're playing the microgames to the top screen. In addition, one of the microgames from the gamer mode in Game & Wario is included in WarioWare Gold, one of the 300. Yeah, pretty much this is everything Game & Wario you really need on the 3DS. Yep, and Mario Sports Superstars. So this game is f***ing garbage. What's a Wii U game on 3DS about this one? Well, of the 5 sports included, tennis is here. And it turns out tennis in Mario Sports Superstars is mostly based on Mario Tennis Ultra Smash on Wii U, not Mario Tennis Open on the 3DS. This is mostly like Mario Tennis Ultra Smash on the 3DS. Get that shit out of my face. And then we have Mario Party the Top 100, which just includes a couple mini games from Mario Party 10 on here. So, you know, that might count. Here we have some that barely meet the quota. Just some games that released on both Wii U and 3DS. I wouldn't really consider these to be like, oh, Wii U ports on 3DS, but I have Shovel Knight here, which this game is super fun on 3DS. I don't know what it is. I do remember when this game was coming out, you know, the developer said how there's way less chance of input lag because your controller is directly hardwired to the screen. So there you go. But yeah, the 3D effect in this game works really well. And just this game on 3DS looks so crisp, looks so cool. In contrast, let's talk about Minecraft. And Minecraft on new Nintendo 3DS. This was back when pretty much every version of Minecraft, like for the different consoles, they all had unique box art. So like any Minecraft release on Xbox had the same kind of cover art. Any Minecraft release on PlayStation, whether it's PS3, Vita, PS4, had the same type of cover art. And the same can be said about the Wii U and 3DS versions of Minecraft. They both had this cover art. Yeah, this doesn't include the Mario Mashup Pack on the cart, but I believe it was made available via a free update. So, I mean, overall, like, sure, this could be considered a Wii U game on 3DS. Yeah, I don't even know why they did this. Probably just to put it out there. I don't know. I mean, this came out in like late 2017. It's kind of like, what's the point, man? I guess for those kids that just had a 3DS and wanted to play Minecraft, but at that point, it's like, it only worked on the new 3DS. No online multiplayer, much smaller world limits, all of that. It's a cool oddity, but that's all it is. Much like LEGO City Undercover, the chase begins. So, back when the Wii U was first revealed, they announced the first game. The first game officially announced for the Wii U was LEGO City Undercover. It may have been called LEGO City Stories at the time, but my God, What a title to start your console off with. LEGO City Undercover is a fine game, but it just felt like an odd game for Nintendo to push as like an exclusive release. I mean, it's a LEGO game. If they were gonna make this game, it was gonna come to Wii U regardless. It's LEGO. They're gonna put you out on the Nintendo system. But when they initially revealed, as a, hey, we're making an exclusive LEGO game on Wii U, they also announced the 3DS version was releasing. And this came out like a month after the Wii U game did in March of 2013. And it's not the same game, it's a prequel. And I remember buying this game digitally, mainly because I had like some cash that I could buy like a 3DS eShop game with. And I thought to myself, my lord, I would like a nice little sandbox game, you know, just a nice game to play on my 3DS before I go to bed, where I can just dick around in it, you know. I was in my dick around in GTA phase as a kid, where I downloaded GTA 4 on the Xbox 360 Marketplace. Shh! I did that so then I wouldn't have to explain to my mom why she had to be there while I bought a physical copy of GTA 4 at Target. No, this way I could just buy it on digitally and they wouldn't know any different. But I never made it far in GTA 4, like story mode wise. I pretty much only would dick around in the game. I would kind of use it to blow off steam, just kind of mess around, make my own fun. And how I heard LEGO City Undercover described, you know, it was like LEGO GTA. So I was like, yeah, I'll download this on my 3DS. I'll kind of have it whenever I need it, and this will be great. It is not LEGO GTA. That is like the most surface level observation of this game. Like, yes, it's like an open world LEGO game, but it's not GTA. I mean, you're playing as the cop, so that's one thing. The Chase Begins is basically like a 3DS adaptation of the Wii U game, but, you know, obviously with a prequel mindset, and it's significantly worse. One of the best elements of the game on Wii U was just the sense of humor and the world, the characters, the dialogue, all of that. And this game has a bit of it, but it's severely limited. Most of the time, the game is just so empty feeling. It's so quiet. You don't have nearly as much voice acting. It's mostly like, most of the characters just have to read what their text box says. And it just feels very ominous, very eerie. You know, it is a 3DS version of LEGO City Undercover. It's definitely what it is advertised as, a prequel to that game, and you get, you know, like kind of that general experience on 3DS. But it's just so much more watered down here. Well, we also had Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. However, this version actually launched in March of 2016. And I also haven't opened it. It is sealed. But yeah, this version launched like a couple months before the Wii U version, which is actually unprecedented for the Mario and Sonic games. I believe this is the first one where the handheld version launched before the console version. But yeah, this would technically be considered a 3DS game on Switch, even though they're two different ass games. Which I can also say about Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U. That's a very unique situation, you know, so like I'm not sure if it really fits what I'm talking about here. But you know, that came out on 3DS in October of 2014, and then on Wii U in November of 2014. And the 3DS version, like, wow, what a stunner. Like, that is like a full Smash Brothers experience on the go. And at the time, that was like the most incredible thing out there. Just the fact that I could play a Smash Brothers game on the go. Absolutely insane. I mean, I never really played it on the go. I kind of played it in bed, but still. And there was also a bunch of third-party releases that had Wii U and 3DS versions. Here we have Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transform. Pretty much most of the Sonic games that released around this time got Wii U versions and 3DS versions. So we have this one. This was a Wii U launch title. And then we also had Sonic Lost World, which is probably the biggest one. You know, it had a different version on 3DS that kind of followed similar beats to the Wii U game, but they were still different versions. You know, that version was developed by Dimps, and I think the general thing with that is, I haven't played much of the 3DS version at all, but from what I recall, the Wii U version is a mixed bag all around. The 3DS version starts off better than the Wii U version, and then nosedives and becomes far worse. So it's probably the Wii U version that's better. And then, of course, there is Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom on Wii U and Sonic Boom on 3DS. The weird thing about that was how, like, when Sonic Boom was initially revealed, they said, oh, it's coming to Wii U and 3DS, but they only showed Wii U footage, and then when the 3DS version was revealed, it's like a completely different game with a completely different subtitle. You have Sonic Boom, Rise of Lyric, and Sonic Boom, Shattered Crystal. Yeah, that kind of brought me back to, like, to, like, the Game Boy Advance days or something, where, like, a game would be advertised as coming to GameCube and Game Boy Advance, and they would only show the GameCube version. And as a dumb little kid, I'd look at that and be like, oh my god, the Game Boy's doing that? No. But yeah, in that regard, I would say the 3DS version is probably, like, overall a bit better. Not by much. That game is still not very good. They redeemed themselves a bit, though, with a follow-up game 2 years later called Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, which is, it's a very simple, like, Sonic game, but it's fine. That is pretty much it. Of course, there's all different kinds of examples you can make, all kinds of excuses. The Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate, does that count? I don't know, we could go all day with this, because Nintendo really did try to get the most out of what they did on Wii U. First, they tried to put all these experiences on 3DS, and then they tried to put a lot of these same experiences on Nintendo Switch. Actually, not most of the same experiences. The only ones that made the jump to both 3DS and Nintendo Switch were Hyrule Warriors, Captain Toad, maybe a couple others I'm forgetting there, but, like, that's kind of it. The other ones got, like, full-on sequels, or, like, they just didn't do it. For some reason, it feels like, oh, if they made a 3DS port of the game, they can't port it to Switch. I don't know. Just some funny little Nintendo logic there. But I think these ports are silly, and they're fun to discuss. They're fun to take a look at, and they're really interesting to see how they fit a lot of these full-blown HD console games on, like, one of the most disgusting little portables I've ever loved. They're more interesting, if anything. Some of them I would consider to be, you know, definitive versions of the game. Something like NES Remix, I think, works incredibly well on 3DS. But others like Hyrule Warriors Legends, my lord. It was an interesting time in Nintendo history, one that very much felt like they were scrambling to make the most out of a bad situation. And to some extent, I feel like they did. And others, like Hyrule Warriors Legends, I feel like they made a bad situation worse. But I love discussing this era of Nintendo, and while we're undoubtedly in a better timeline now with being able to have your handheld and home console all in one, there is something special about having two completely distinct platforms. I'm not saying that I want that again, because, you know, let's be honest here. As much as we want to say, like, oh, wasn't that kind of fun? If we get that again, it's going to be dumb as hell. But it made things very interesting to discuss. It made things interesting to see, like, how a Wii U game would look on 3DS and vice versa, you know? Very, very interesting stuff to look at. But, you know, they're novelties overall. They aren't something that I'm desperately begging for the return of. Like, how much of an idiot would I look like if I said, hey, Nintendo, more of that?